Many names have been called off the big board during the NFL draft. However, some guys get drafted higher or lower than expected. Here at TPS, we're gonna go back and explore every team's biggest draft reach of all time.
The Indianapolis Colts select Philip Dorsett.
That is a touchdown! Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley. One-on-one, amigo, huh?
So here we are, all 32 NFL teams' biggest reach on draft day ever. Arizona Cardinals drafting Paris Johnson Jr. 6th overall in 2023. Needing to fix the offensive line, the Cardinals drafted Paris Johnson Jr. with the 6th pick of the 2023 draft.
To take Paris Johnson, our second Buckeye of the night, to go along with two members of the Alabama Crimson Tide football team.
Johnson Jr. was projected to be a second-round pick, but the Redbirds traded their 27th pick to the Los Angeles Rams for the 6th pick to snag him.
Honestly, I do not have a relationship with my dad now, but as a kid, he was a Cardinal. I want to be a Cardinal.
Johnson Jr. has been reliable ever since, but they probably could have waited to get him. Atlanta Falcons drafting Julio Jones 6th overall in 2011. After winning the NFC South and making a playoff appearance in 2010, the Falcons followed it up by trading 5 draft picks to the Cleveland Browns for the 6th pick and drafted Julio Jones.
And have that work ethic, and how we can accomplish something big, like win the Super Bowl.
Now, Jones became one of the most elite wide receivers in the 2010s and had one of his best receptions in Super Bowl 51.
Steps through it, throws on the run, and Jones with a catch.
But at the time, they probably could have traded a lot less and gotten him way later. Baltimore Ravens drafting Lamar Jackson 32nd overall in 2018. Many scouts and draft analysts doubted Lamar Jackson's ability, and some said that he shouldn't play quarterback. The Ravens weren't deterred and traded with the Eagles to draft Jackson with the 32nd pick.
Yesterday does not matter. You're looking forward to today.
I'm looking forward to being a Raven.
Now, again, Lamar Jackson is definitely an MVP. But looking back on it, they still probably could have waited until the 2nd round and picked him up for cheap.
From the 43 of Indianapolis, Lamar loads up for Marquise Brown.
Buffalo Bills drafting Dante Whitner 8th overall in 2006. After another disastrous season, the Bills needed some new defensive talent. So they shocked some people and drafted Whitner with the 8th pick in 2006. Most people out there said that the Bills probably should have selected Ernie Sims, Haloti Ngata, or Antonio Cromartie instead.
Leftwich can't find anyone. Now throws. It is picked off by Dante Whitner.
Whitner played all right in Western New York, but he really became a Pro Bowler later on with the San Francisco 49ers and Cleveland Browns. Carolina Panthers drafting Kerry Collins 5th overall in 1995. Collins was the team's first ever draft pick in 1995 as he was projected to be a franchise quarterback. Well, Collins didn't make a Pro Bowl with the Panthers and had some success with the team. However, he became a backup and made a 2nd Pro Bowl with the Titans in 2008 when Vince Young suffered a knee injury. Overall, Collins was just okay. The Chicago Bears drafting Kyle Long 20th overall in 2013. After Jay Cutler was sacked 52 times in 2012, the Bears needed a new offensive lineman. The Bears decided to draft Long with the 20th pick when drafting analysts said that the team could have traded back and selected him later.
It's been really easy to get to know these guys, to feel that they have a real sense of team and leadership.
Now, Long did have a good career with the Bears and made 3 Pro Bowls with the team, but those analysts were probably right, and they could have just waited to get their man. Cleveland Browns drafting Baker Mayfield 1st overall in 2018. The Browns needed a new quarterback after going 0-16 in 2017. They drafted Mayfield 1st overall in 2018, even though Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson were all still on the board.
The Cleveland Browns select Baker Mayfield, quarterback, Oklahoma.
Mayfield may have been inconsistent during his time at the Browns, but he did help them return to the playoffs for the first time since 2002 and win their first playoff game since 1994. Mayfield was ultimately traded to the Panthers and is currently making a career for himself with the Bucs. But given how short his career was in Cleveland, using the 1st overall pick was a bit of a reach. Cincinnati Bengals drafting Dan Wilkinson 1st overall in 1994. Here's the truth. The Bengals were awful in the 1990s. They used the first overall pick of the 94 draft to select Wilkinson, who was a massive reach, especially when there were way more talented defensive tackles picked later, like Bryant Young, who became a Hall of Famer. Wilkinson saw some good moments in the Queen City, but was traded a few years later to Washington. Dallas Cowboys drafting Russell Maryland first overall in 1991. During the Cowboys' rebuilding phase with Troy Aikman and Jimmy Johnson, they traded up and drafted Maryland with the first pick of the 1991 draft. Maryland was considered a reach since he wasn't a touted prospect out of high school before he became a Miami Hurricane. Maryland became a Pro Bowler and a 3-time Super Bowl champion with the Cowboys in the 90s, so ultimately, he did have a pretty good career in the NFL. Denver Broncos drafting Tim Tebow 25th overall in 2010. Man, the Tebow hype was real, as Tebow won 2 national championships with Florida and the Heisman Trophy. The media hyped him up way before the 2010 draft, while a few believed that he wouldn't be a high draft pick. The Broncos stunned the world by drafting him with the 25th pick.
In the 2010 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Tim Tebow.
Now, Tebow did show flashes of success in the league by taking the team to the playoffs in 2011, but ultimately his style of play didn't last long, and he was out of the NFL by 2015. Detroit Lions drafting Charles Rogers 2nd overall in 2003. Needing a new wide receiver for Joey Harrington to throw to, the Lions drafted Rogers with the 2nd pick of the 2003 draft.
That one hits the upright.
Rodgers was very sought after at the time, but his NFL career didn't last that long because of injuries and off-the-field issues, as he ultimately ended up being a bit of a draft reach. The Lions missed out on some guy named Andre Johnson, who ended up going 1 pick later. Green Bay Packers drafting Jamal Reynolds 10th overall in 2001. The Packers traded Matt Hasselbeck in the 17th pick of the 2001 draft to move up and get the 10th pick. With that pick, the Packers selected Reynolds, hoping that he would bring some strong stability on the defensive line like he did at Florida State. Unfortunately, Reynolds was a draft reach who flopped at the professional level. He only played 18 games and was out of the NFL by 2004. The Packers missed out on Kyle Vanden Bosch, who was drafted in the 2nd round. Houston Texans drafting Mario Williams 1st overall in 2006. Needing new talent after an abysmal 2005 season, the Texans shocked many by drafting Williams 1st overall in 2006. You know, when guys like Reggie Bush and Vince Young were still available. Although Williams was definitely a reach, he still met expectations, making 4 Pro Bowls and helping the Texans reach the playoffs in 2011. Indianapolis Colts drafting Philip Dorsett 29th overall in 2015. Dorsett was originally projected to be a 2nd round or 3rd round pick by draft analysts. However, the Colts stunned analysts by selecting Dorsett with the 29th pick of the 2015 draft, hoping that he'd be able to impact the passing attack.
The Indianapolis Colts select Philip Dorsett, wide receiver, Miami. Wow.
Well, unfortunately, Dorsett did not have much of any impact during his tenure in Indy and has spent the majority of his career bouncing around the league. Jacksonville Jaguars drafting Fred Taylor 9th overall in 1998. Speaking of the 1998 draft, the Jaguars selected Taylor with the 9th pick, although many believed that it was a bit of a reach for the team to draft a running back that early.
Brett throwing. He's at the 50, the 40. They won't stop at 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown.
Taylor certainly made a career for himself in Duval County with a Pro Bowl and rushed for over 11,000 yards. Very impressive, but again, he probably could have been selected later. Kansas City Chiefs drafting Tyson Jackson 3rd overall in 2009. Looking to implement a new 3-4 defense, Todd Haley and the Chiefs stunned draft analysts by selecting Jackson with the 3rd pick of the 2009 NFL Draft.
2009 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Tyson Jackson.
Yeah! When those exact same analysts had him going in the late top 10 of the draft. Jackson didn't quite live up to the Chiefs' expectations, as he registered just 9 sacks during his 5-year tenure with the Chiefs. He then signed with the Falcons in 2014, but did next to nothing for them. Las Vegas Raiders drafting Darius Hayward-Bay 7th overall in 2009. The Raiders needed to improve their passing attack for the 2009 season, so they drafted Hayward-Bay with the 7th overall pick of the draft, even though Michael Crabtree, Jeremy Maclin, and Percy Harvin were still on the board, and were thought to be drafted well before him.
A man wide open, Bay, and he'll score.
Hayward Bay was not highly touted, and he didn't live up to expectations with the silver and black and was ultimately released in 2013. Los Angeles Chargers drafting Eli Manning first overall in 2004. The 2004 NFL Draft quarterback room was loaded with many talented names. The Chargers selected Manning with the first pick of the 2004 draft. Now, he's only considered a reach here because, well, he didn't want to play for him. The Chargers traded Manning to the New York Giants for Phillip Rivers. Now, both definitely had excellent careers, but still rough to draft a guy that doesn't want to play for your team. Los Angeles Rams drafting Aaron Donald 13th overall in 2014. After finishing the 2013 season with a 7-9 record, the Rams shocked draft analysts by drafting Donald with the 13th pick, when at the time, many had projected him to get drafted in the later rounds. Donald did make people eat their words, as he became a Super Bowl champion, a 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, and a 10-time Pro Bowler.
So many times we think about him as the pass rusher. Look at that hand extended, just jamming him up, and then not.
Very impressive, Mr. Donald. Very impressive. Miami Dolphins drafting Laramie Tunsil 13th overall in 2016. Just minutes before the 2016 NFL Draft, a video of Tunsil surfaced of him smoking marijuana out of a gas mask, potentially ruining his career. However, the Dolphins weren't fazed and drafted him anyways, even though he was projected to be a top 10 pick before the video was released.
The Miami Dolphins select Laramie Tunsil, tackle.
Tunsil has had a great career in the league so far, but because of that video, they probably could have gotten him a little later than 13. And so the Vikings drafting Troy Williamson 7th overall in 2005. After trading Randy Moss to the Oakland Raiders, the Vikings needed a new wide receiver. They drafted Troy Williamson with the 7th overall pick of the 2005 draft, shocking many, even with Roddy White and Vincent Jackson still being on the board. Williamson had trouble catching the ball, had an awful 2006 campaign, and only scored 4 touchdowns in his career.
Another started corner with the injuries to the safeties, and you can see that. I mean, that's the problem with the Vikings.
This was a big reach by the Vikings, trying to replace their former star wideout. New England Patriots drafting Lawrence Maroney with the 21st pick in 2006. Looking to further improve the backfield, Bill Belichick decided to draft Maroney with the 21st pick of the 2006 NFL Draft. Unfortunately, Maroney was a bit of a reach, as he didn't exactly live up to expectations in Foxborough due to injuries and inconsistent performance. Maroney was then traded to the Broncos in 2010, but was out of the league by 2011. New Orleans Saints drafting Ricky Williams with the 5th pick in 1999. In one of the most bizarre trades in NFL history, the Saints traded all of their draft capital to Washington because they wanted Williams. Well, the Saints got their wish and massively overpaid for Williams' services, as losing all of their draft capital turned out to be a massive mistake. Williams would go on to revive his career at the Miami Dolphins later and had a pretty solid career.
He's off to the races. 30, 20, 10, touchdown.
But paying that much and selecting him at 5 definitely was a reach for the Saints. New York Giants drafting Daniel Jones 6th overall in 2019. With Eli Manning playing his final season, the Giants needed to find his successor. They shocked draft analysts by selecting Jones with the 6th pick of the 2019 NFL Draft, even though he was projected to be a late-round pick, as Dwayne Haskins and Drew Lock were still both available.
The New York Giants select Daniel Jones, quarterback, Duke.
Jones' time at the Giants was, well, inconsistent. Yeah, sure, he helped the Giants reach the playoffs in 2022, but he had a disastrous 2023 season. Jones requested to be released by the Giants in 2024 and is now with the Colts. New York Jets drafting Roger Vick 21st overall in 1987. The Jets shocked fans and analysts in the 1987 draft by selecting Vick in the first round when fullbacks aren't usually drafted that high, with a fan even screaming, "Oh no," after Vick's name was called.
First round selection, fullback, Roger Vick, Texas A&M.
Needless to say, yeah, that fan was correct. Vick never lived up to expectations and was ultimately out of the league after the 1990 season. Philadelphia Eagles drafting Jerome McDougal 15th overall in 2003. Looking to further improve the defense, the Eagles traded up and drafted McDougal with the 15th overall pick of the 2003 NFL Draft. McDougal was a standout defensive end with the Miami Hurricanes and helped them win the 2001 BCS National Championship game. However, it was a stretch for the Eagles to draft him that high, when they really should have taken an offensive lineman instead.
Who struggled somewhat. Here is Manning in trouble, loses the ball, and Ron Dean picks it up.
Ultimately, he flopped with the Eagles and was plagued by injuries. The Eagles, by the way, missed out on Troy Polamalu, who went one pick later. Pittsburgh Steelers drafting Kenny Pickett 20th overall in 2022. Needing a new quarterback to replace Ben Roethlisberger, the Steelers took a gamble and drafted Kenny Pickett with the 20th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, even though he wasn't projected to be a first-round pick.
The Pittsburgh Steelers select Kenny Pickett.
However, Pickett's tenure in Pittsburgh was very short due to offensive struggles, and ultimately he was traded to the Philadelphia Eagles in 2024. San Francisco 49ers drafting Trey Lance 3rd overall in 2021. The 49ers stunned fans and draft analysts by trading up to select Lance with the 3rd pick of the 2021 draft.
The San Francisco 49ers select Trey Lance.
What made Lance a real reach was the 49ers' lack of immediate need for a quarterback, with Jimmy Garoppolo still being on the roster.
Do you take a chance into the end zone? Lance throws, touchdown!
Lance was thrust into action, but injuries and the rise of Brock Purdy ultimately made him an afterthought. Hopefully, Lance can revive his career somewhere else. Seattle Seahawks drafting Bruce Irvin 15th overall in 2012. Looking to add to their impressive defense, the Seahawks shocked analysts by trading up to select Irvin with the 15th pick of the draft.
The Seattle Seahawks select Bruce Irvin, defensive end, West Virginia.
Irvin was considered a massive reach, as he was projected to be a 2nd or 3rd round prospect due to off-the-field issues and limited experience in coverage. Now, he did become a massive contributor for the Seahawks, helping them win Super Bowl 48, but that does not change the fact that this man could have been selected way later than 15.
Of get off and power. Watch what he does with his inside arm. He just tosses.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafting Derek Brooks 28th overall in 1995. The Buccaneers had a wild draft night in 1995, drafting both Warren Sapp and Brooks, who was considered a big reach at the time. You see, the Bucs traded up at the Dallas Cowboys and drafted Brooks 28th overall, even though Brooks really was not considered a first-round pick by analysts at the time.
I'm really reading McNabb.
What is that?
In spite of that, Brooks did have a Hall of Fame career with the Bucs, helping the team win Super Bowl 37. However, they really could have just waited. However, they probably could have gotten the 11-time Pro Bowler in the 2nd round or so. Tennessee Titans drafting Kevin Dyson 16th overall in 1998. The Titans, at the time called the Oilers, needed to find that game-changing wide receiver. They drafted Kevin Dyson with the 16th pick of the star-studded 1998 NFL Draft, even though he was considered a draft reach due to his limited production and other wide receivers being on the board at the time. You know, guys like Randy Moss, who went 5 picks later.
In regulation. It is caught by Dyson. Can he get in?
Sure, Dyson had some good years with the Titans, helping them reach Super Bowl 34, but he's probably best remembered for his role in the Music City Miracle, with his 1-yard line catch right before the game concluded in the St. Louis Rams' favor.
He's got it! End zone! Touchdown Titans! There are no...
Washington Commanders drafting Robert Griffin III 2nd overall in 2012. Washington was looking for a new dynamic quarterback to build around in the 2012 draft. So, Washington traded up with the Rams and selected RG3 with the 2nd pick of the 2012 draft.
In the 2012 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Robert Griffin III.
Now, RG3 had a very impressive rookie season. However, unfortunately, injuries and mismanagement ended up catching up with him. You see, RG3 eventually was benched for Kirk Cousins in 2015 and had stints at the Cleveland Browns and Baltimore Ravens. But because of all that happened to RG3, he is ultimately considered a bit of a reach because of all those injuries.
And snap. And it belongs to Seattle.
But hey, who do you think was your favorite team's biggest draft reach? What draft reach do you think analysts and fans alike were wrong about at the time? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then hey, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.